Morena Haromi, it is so much my pleasure to contact you as one of our 5 Asthma Management Challenge winners. You are awesome. Hey, thank you so much for participating. And tell me, what surprised you doing the challenge?
Thank you very much. I was very in shock for having being one of the winners. But one of the things that really surprised me about doing the challenge was the patterns that emerged for me in stressful situations or with the cold weather and stuff, and making sure that I did my peak flow every day. Because like sometimes I'd forget, and it's like, oh crap, I've got to do my peak flow so I can put the information in. That was one of the challenges, was just remembering that in my daily activity.
Yeah. It's interesting because I think that's one of the things that comes up for us all the time is people making their asthma management part of their routine. Because if it's not part of the routine, it's just life's crazy as it is, without trying to remember that. So it's making it part of your routine. What did you learn from having it become part of that daily routine?
I could see where I needed to, say, perhaps increase my preventers, because my asthma wasn't really, I wasn't on top of it. I was having too many incidents of having to use my treatment inhaler. And so days like that, I could see from the plan that I'd done and recordings that I'd done that I needed to, so for today I need to double up on my preventers to help get on top of it and stuff, and things like that. And it taught me, how much external environment things can affect how my asthma is being managed. I was quite surprised at how strongly it gets affected by stress for me.
Stress is a really big contributor, and I don't want to underestimate the impact of the environment that we're living in right now. There's so much uncertainty, and so the last thing that we want to do is have our asthma poorly managed and find ourselves in an emergency unit, because that just adds to the stress. It adds to, the complication that is already around us everywhere, and uncertainty. So in terms of moving forward, what are some of the things that you're going to keep doing now after the challenge?
Well, what I have done is made sure that I've got inhalers in my car, my handbag, next to my bed, and a spare one. So that if I do get asthma, I'm not getting all panicked trying to find an inhaler. I've actually got them in places that I am. And also that I need to do my peak flow on a daily basis too. So every morning when I get up, I need to do it and check and see how I'm going for the day and things like that too. It gives me a better idea of what activities I can do throughout the day as well. Sort of if I have to minimize things or things like that. And to be mindful of how the cold is affecting it, because that affects my asthma quite dramatically too. I was finding I was getting it quite a lot before going to bed at night because it was so cold. So I've had to leave a heater on in the room just to take the chill off it, whilst I was getting asthma right then. So there's a few things there that highlighted to me how my asthma goes. So I've had to sort of address those sort of things to try and eliminate them making me have asthma all the time.
Yeah. And I think all of that is so important. Certainly, the health of our homes is a really big issue for Asthma New Zealand. It cannot be understated. The other thing I think that a lot of people forget is that in terms of your preventers, it takes up to a month for them to start kicking into the system and to start holding on their own. And I think a lot of people, if they have come off the preventers, especially after a really warm, dry, still summer that we had, and then with the COVID lockdown, of course, the reduction in pollutants, we just found people became a lot healthier. The asthma was much better controlled, so they came off their preventers. But now the cold weather's kicking in, of course, and if they're not on their preventers, jumping on your preventer is not going to do anything for the first day or the first week. It takes a bit of time for it to kick in. So you'll be benefiting from that now.
Yes, well, I've had asthma since I was little, and as I've gotten older, it's gotten uh, more. I've had asthma more because my allergies. I'm allergic to like quite a few things in the air, and
Yeah.
if I get allergic reaction to something, well, my asthma goes through the roof too. So I have to be mindful of those things in my living environment, that I can't have heaps of dust and I can't have heaps of mold, and the garden doesn't have heaps of pollinating flowers, and that the house is closed up when somebody's mowing the lawn and things like that. Otherwise, my asthma
Yeah.
just goes through the roof, and it's
Yeah.
really unmanageable. So I think one of the bigger things too is recognizing the triggers for your asthma and things that you can mitigate, then
Yeah.
and control from not affecting you, then do so. Try and limit their impact upon you and your asthma. So that's
Yeah.
been a biggie for me too, with doing the challenge. Yeah.
Awesome, and that's about that self-management. And I think you just talked about some really, really intelligent ways to manage the environment, the external environment.
Yes.
Because our homes should be protecting us from our external environment. Unfortunately, most of them aren't, because they're as unhealthy in as they are out. Mold and moisture for anybody with respiratory disease is just a recipe for disaster. So I love hearing you talk in the way that you are, because there's so much insight and learning. And I think if everybody was to start thinking the way that you're thinking and approaching your asthma, we talk about living well with asthma, yet in New Zealand the predominant thinking is suffering from. And we need to move away from that. We need to move away from suffering from asthma and living with, because it should not be something that gets in the way of you living your life fully.
And it did used to prevent me from doing quite a few things, like exercise. Even I had to create an exercise regime specifically tailored for me before, so that I didn't get asthma all the time. I had to slowly warm up my body with some slower sort of movement exercises and things like that, because going straight into riding a bike or jogging was giving me asthma almost straight away. So it was recognizing and accepting that those are the things. But like you said, you can live with it rather than suffer from it. I know, like in my earlier ages, I felt like I was suffering from it because it
Yeah,
impacted me playing professional sports and all of
yeah,
those sort of things. But as I got older and was able to manage it better and just adjust certain things in my life, it is living with it now. I haven't
yeah.
been in hospital for 3 years, 4 years. So that's awesome for me, because normally I was in a hospital every winter at least 3 times with my asthma. So, yeah, it's really good.
Oh, look, I am so thrilled that you are one of our challenge winners, because you so deserve to be one of our challenge winners. To hear you talking like this, for us is music to our ears. We work really, really hard to educate people on to do exactly what you're doing. And so for you to be telling people about how it's working for you is just so invaluable. So Haromi, thank you so much for participating in the challenge. I'm so thrilled that we're connected with you. We've got vouchers on their way to you, so congratulations.
I can't wait. Thank you so much, Catherine. I thoroughly enjoyed being part of the challenge. It was very educational for me.
Oh, look, hey, it's been wonderful.